Hi everyone, and welcome to this tutorial by For Oxygen Not Included, which is a look at the Debug and Sandbox tools. Of course, these are really developer tools, but they're also very useful to quickly test new builds and ideas. I'm going to run through the main tools available to explain how they work, and then do an example build to demonstrate. The first thing to say is that Debug and Sandbox are two different toolsets, and can be enabled or disabled independently. Let's start with Debug mode, which has two ways of being enabled. To do this temporarily, just type play in the main menu. You can then see that the game version has the letter D added to show debug. Doing it this way will last until you close the game. To enable debug permanently, you need to add an empty text file called debug_enable to your game local files here. For Mac, open the application bundle by right-clicking and then selecting Open Package Contents. Then place this file inside the Contents folder. Now with this enabled, there are lots of commands you have access to. Beware that using any of the debug tools or enabling Sandbox will disable achievements from that point on in a base, and you can see this in the top right of the colony summary. For the debug commands, I'm not going to go through all of them, but instead focus on the really useful ones for making test builds. These are the four at the top, so let's take a quick look. A really useful command is Alt+Z, which increases the game speed. This makes the 3x speed go to 10x speed, so is extremely useful for making sure builds run well over long periods. And the next important command is Ctrl F4, turning on instant build mode. As the name suggests, this allows you to instantly build anything without resources. But it's more powerful than that, and also lets you complete research immediately, and assign skills without having skill points. It will also make the normal commands instant, so things like digging, mopping, deconstructing, and all other commands. Using this mode also gives some extra debug buildings, shown here. The dev generator makes 100 kilowatts, so can power any buildings. And the dev pumps can be used to create and pump any liquid or gas of your choosing. And the final command to cover is the primary debug menu, available on the Backspace key. This opens up the menu on the right, shows the whole map while open, and has lots of powerful tools. But I don't use this so much myself, and instead I use the Sandbox tools, which I'll touch on next. The main thing I do use from this menu is spawning points of interest, including geysers. You can spawn these in by choosing from the bottom here. This does include gravitas points of interest, but really geysers are going to be the most useful. Spawning them in and digging them out allows you to then design around them. Now those are the things I wanted to cover about debug mode, so let's look at the Sandbox tools. Remember, these are independent of debug mode and are enabled in the game options here. You can also enable this when starting a new base too. Once it is enabled, the Sandbox menu toggle is added to the top left. Clicking on this brings up the menu in the bottom right, adding 11 tools. Let's start with the Reveal tool, as it's probably the first one we'll need, and this obviously reveals the map. There's a size slider here to change the brush size, but you can get this up to 50 if you type in the box directly. I'll quickly reveal most of the map. Next is the Destroy tool, which deletes whatever you choose. Again, you have a brush size, and this completely removes everything selected. Beware that destroying large areas can strain your computer quite heavily. This is the only way to remove dupes and geysers, so is very useful. Another way to clear areas out is to dig them with the instant build mode, but this will leave debris behind. And to get rid of this, the Clear Debris tool will remove all loose items, including critters. If you only want to remove critters, then there's the Critter Removal tool. Both of these have a brush size too. To add items in, the Spawner tool is used. This is where you can add dupes, but also many other items such as food, clothing, and wild plants. You can use the categories or search for what you're after. A lot of the remaining tools are for adding in materials. The brush tool simply paints in whichever material is selected. To control this, there is the option for brush size and temperature, as well as germs. Note that the slider values depend on the material, but if you type directly into the box, you can go to any mass up to 9999 kilograms, and any temperature the game allows. To choose a material, use the drop-down box and the filters, or you can search in the box. The sprinkle tool is also available to add material with a random moving noise pattern, but I don't find this very useful. But the fill tool is useful, and can be used to fill an entire area with the same material. Do be aware that this will replace all connected tiles of the same material, not just solid, liquid or gas. So for example, if I replace the carbon dioxide here, the polluted oxygen will remain. Vacuum is also available here, and when brushing, to remove any material quickly. Now to speed up using the brush and fill tools, you can also use the sample tool, which will copy the settings from whichever tile you choose. This is great for copying materials from one place to another, or duplicating a build to test different ideas. And the last two tools I don't use much, but the heat gun tool simply changes the temperature of the selected tiles. It's usually easier to do this when brushing or filling materials in the first place, but you can use this instead. The slider only goes to ± 15 degrees, but you can also type to any value the game allows. Finally, the Happy tool is used to change dupe stress if you want to. So that's it for all the tools I wanted to look at. In the last part of the video, I'm going to quickly demonstrate how to use these tools to test out a metal volcano tamer. I've got a new map with Debug and Sandbox enabled and have paused the game. Let's start by revealing the map, then destroying a nice big space to build in. I'm going to make a build for a copper volcano, so pressing Backspace will open the primary debug menu. I can then go into Base Game, Geysers, and choose molten_copper. Now making sure I press Ctrl F4 to enable the instant build, I can use the dig command to remove the tiles. Beware that digging in this way will destroy neutronium, so I'm carefully going around it. Then let's clear the debris. I'm going to quickly build the design in a normal way, so insulated tiles, a steam turbine, thermo-aquatuner, and some plumbing and automation. To power this, I'm going to use the dev generator and connect it up. And similarly, I can use the dev liquid pump to fill the coolant loop by bridging on. Let's try this out with polluted water. To get it started, I can add in a liquid lock by brushing in some petroleum. Then for the steam room, I can fill it with steam at 100 kilograms per tile and 200 degrees. And I'll use some oxygen to fill the area around the design like a real base. I'm pausing. This will now be a little while until it erupts. so we can use 10 times speed by toggling the speed control and pressing Alt+Z. But if we were even more impatient, we can pretend it's erupting by brushing in a little liquid copper ourselves. Now, in what may have been an entirely planned incident, I forgot to put radiant pipes behind the steam turbine, so it's getting too hot. Let's quickly pause and deconstruct the pipes in the plumbing overlay. Note that I'm not using destroy here, as it would delete everything. Then it's a quick rebuild, clear debris and run again to let the loop refill. Everything seems to be working now, but it would be good to test this for a longer time in 10 times speed to double check everything. And that's all I wanted to look at for the Debug and Sandbox tools in Oxygen Not Included. I hope this helps you use these to test your own ideas, and thanks for watching.